Hello and welcome to the 6 months to six figures series of the Double Your Freelancing podcast. I'm your host, Zach Swinehart, and I'm here with Brad. And in this series, I normally say you will follow a specific freelancer, but today I say you have followed a specific freelancer, Brad. And here's why. So you saw in last week's episode that he was thinking, I think that's where it was last week. You were thinking of taking the offer. You were about to meet with him. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was about to meet with him. He did meet with him. Spoiler, did take the offer. So this is like the last-ish episode. We're going to do some encores and stuff probably, but this is like the last episode of Brad's series. So today, he has successfully hit the six-figure goal, but not in the way we expected, obviously. And I guess I'll do the normal intro. My challenge was to see how quickly I could get him there. It has been 5 months, just about. And I won't tell you we connect every week or two because we won't. But we did connect every week or two. So if you want to get coaching like this, it'll follow pretty much the same format as Brad and I have. And it's 20 minutes every week in the DYF Accelerator community. So if you want to learn more, the link is dyf.link/DYFA. So let's dive in, and we're going to essentially kind of recap all the things, the lessons learned, that sort of stuff. All right, Brad. So here's what we've got down. First session, sometime in June. We said so many, if I do say so myself, you said a bunch of gems in the pre-interview. We kicked ourselves like 8 times for not recording. So I hope we can tap into the authenticity. But we first met, it looks like sometime in June. And you were saying that you started from like basically nothing. And today you are at the six-figure point. So let's just hear about where you started. Paint that picture if you could.
Yeah. So I started basically deciding that freelancing was the best way to use the experiences and skills I've gained over the years in marketing to establish a stable income. But I had no idea where to start there. So I started on Upwork. I had a friend who was doing that. So I started there, and then I quickly got frustrated with Upwork. And so I said, I need to be able to find clients off of Upwork. And so I remember that a friend of mine had recommended Double Your Freelancing a while ago. And I was like, and I looked at the sales page and I was like, yes, these people are professionals. They know what they're doing here. And I don't know any of this stuff. Like, I have skills in marketing, but I have zero skills in freelancing. I don't understand. I don't even know what the skills are. So I joined. Very fortuitously, Zach was interested in my journey and was looking to do this 6 months to six figures podcast. That was just like the luckiest break I could get. And so we agreed to do this. And over the course of the last 6 months, you can watch in the series as I learn the skills of freelancing and I learn how to become a professional. I have done a lot of things in business over the years, but I would not have called myself a professional. I didn't understand how to manage my time. I did not, like when you first, gave me access to the blueprint, I remember that it was like, oh yeah, just connect with a business and offer your services. And I was like, I don't really know any credible businesses and I don't have services to offer. So how am I supposed to do this? There were so many things. It was like, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And Zach just helped me step by step to fill in those question marks. And I think that iteration is how I got to find a job that I'm really excited about and is an awesome job at a great company. But I wouldn't have been ready for this. If I would have done the same thing that I did to get this job 6 months ago, it wouldn't have worked because I wouldn't have had those skills built up. So I think that I'm fairly unique because a lot of people in the freelancing community, have been doing it for a while and they're just looking to like up their game. But I hadn't been. I've been actively avoiding freelancing as a way of making money my whole career because I didn't want to have clients. But when my life goals sort of showed me the path, like, hey, I'm trying to enter the next phase of my life and be more serious and think more long-term. And freelancing came as the obvious solution to that. I just knew I needed to solve these problems. I needed to learn how to charge for your for your services and how to find clients and how to, offer things and how to find a niche and how to connect with people in a professional way. I'm good at networking, but it's very uncalibrated. So this whole thing, if you watch this series, you're going to see somebody who has a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of skills, but it's completely uncalibrated. And I feel like, Zach, you just helped me to take all of that energy and skills and focus it in a productive way and become a professional, which made me ready to join this professional organization.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool doing this looking back with you, because I feel like that's what I've seen in you as well. And you say that you got a lucky break. And obviously, like, without tooting my own horn, in some ways you did, right? Getting to meet with me every week for so long and stuff. But I also got a lucky break. The reason I wanted to do this with you is because a lot of people joined the community when we first launched it in May. And a lot of people, like 90% of people, join and they have intensity and then they fall off. And with you, I could tell that you were really committed and you were sticking with it. And so I feel lucky to have gotten this opportunity to have you just commit, because ultimately that's the thing that I think makes the biggest difference is to start and not stop. And if you're watching this at the end and you've seen all the blips, you've seen there have been a couple of times where it looked like Brad might have stopped. Like, there are a couple of times when I left the calls and I was like, fuck, am I going to see Brad ever again? I don't know if I'm going to see Brad. Not because he killed himself, but just because he decided to stop freelancing. But I mean, shit, he's had some hard depression times too. But yeah, so like, I just want to say, I've been really impressed by you, and I have been so grateful to see you keep showing up and to see you overcoming these challenges. And it's wild. It's been 5 months. It's wild to see how much you've improved in 5 months. And I've also, like, you talk about this gradual calibration. I've seen this in you too. And in the pre-interview, you were telling me about how you think your situation's very atypical. And Brad's tearing up. I'll tear up in a second too. But I think that what's really interesting here is that, like, maybe it's not. I agree that there are some people who are in the more typical space. Like, we'll get some developers where they have their day job as a developer and then they quit and they become a freelance developer. But I think with COVID and stuff, like, I think a lot of people are reinventing how they approach work. And I think what's interesting about this whole series, and you, the listener, the question we want to pose to you is, like, with Brad ending this 5 months at the 6 figures, but at a job, but it's a job that he finds really interesting, has creative freedom in, gets to hone his chops. Does that count as a success? Does that count as a failure? Because he's not 6 figures freelancing, he's 6 figures at a job. But the thing that I think is really interesting is, like, I was telling Brad before we started the recording, when I was first meeting with Brennan and Laura talking about, like, potentially joining DYF as a partner, I remember, like, feeling like imposterish, or maybe like I was a bad fit. Because I was like, guys, I don't really love freelancing as an end result. Like, I don't want freelancing to be my end state. Like, I want to move beyond it, do more stuff. And I found it really interesting. They were like, well, yeah, so does everybody. There are very few people who want to freelance forever. It's just like a step along the path. And so to me, the hard part about starting as a total newbie, like Brad did at the beginning of the series, is that you have so many skills to learn. And then you have to implement them. And in order to get any freaking traction, you have to, like, keep implementing them when you're not getting any results. And meanwhile, somehow try to pay the bills. Like, there's all this stuff you have to fight against. And if you know that freelancing is, like, going to be a blip on the road to something else you want to do, it's not always the most efficient route to get where you want to go. So in my mind, where Brad's at right now, I am considering a success. But today we're going to do our full, like, unpacking, and we can dig into that a little bit more. But yeah, I just want to say this has been really cool, really great seeing you make this whole shift. So thank you so much for sticking with me, coming along with me, and stuff like that. So we were talking about our, like, little hooks to transition this into the normal episode. So something I used to be, like, quite into the law of attraction. Brad used to be. I'm not so into it anymore, but I do sometimes get a reminder that the world can be a magical place, and that sometimes it's my own outlook that stops me from seeing it. And I'm so naive to think, oh, the world's not magical and I see the truth. But There were times in my life when it didn't feel that way. And then I'm sometimes reminded that, oh, actually, there is some interesting stuff going on. So something really cool that Brad and I were chatting about was like synchronicity. So if you've listened to the whole series or you're about to, you'll see that there have been many like things that felt like gigantic setbacks for him along the way, really big challenges. But then when you look at where he's at now, those challenges were necessary for him to be able to fully capitalize on this opportunity. And I've thought of the same thing so many times over the years with my own backstory. Like, I feel like I get a lot more opportunities now than when I was younger. But what it is that I mean, maybe I do get more. Of course, now that I'm at DYF, like naturally I'll get more. But like in general, I don't know that I necessarily do get more, but maybe I'm better at seeing them. Maybe I'm better at taking advantage of them. Maybe I can actually alchemize an opportunity into like something really great, much more than I could before. And there was this book, what was it? Something like had the 7 insights. It's by, it was like a law of attraction-y book. I'll have to think of the name. Do you know the one I mean, Brad?
The 4 Agreements?
Not the 4 Agreements, though. That is a good one. The Celestine Prophecy. That one. Have you read that one?
I don't know that one.
I read it when I was into my whole like eat, pray, love journey phase. He talks in it about like following the coincidences and stuff like that, and like the whole synchronicity thing. So when you look back, like what are the things on this pathway between when you and I first started and where you are now that felt like these gigantic roadblocks? And it's not like you've arrived. For the record, everyone listening, this disclaimer, Brad has not arrived. Brad will be depressed again. Brad will hit roadblocks again. We all will. Like Brian Johnson from Heroic says, you are never exonerated. The moment you think you've, quote, arrived and that life is now easy forever, you are setting yourself up for a bad time. But nonetheless, this is a big milestone. Brad, you said that this is like you've opened a new epoch or some word like that. So like when you look back, what are the things that you couldn't see past at the time, but you're like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't had that challenging experience, I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of this?
I think one of the biggest transformations was the time management stuff. It's so boring and practical, but it was one of the first things that you were really recommending. And like, I was so frustrated when it was one of the first things you were like, I did not want to use Toggle. Like, I was like, no, anything but that. But it changed how I saw my whole life, really. I just saw that there are limits. In my mind, there were no limits on my time, on my energy, on, work. Like, I just thought everything is infinite and I'll just work. And it's just not how it's not how things work. And it just made me understand business and life in a different way. And it was so hard for me. It was so hard. But now I just look at everything as like, well, I'm going to be anyways, I just think of limits, which is, it's strange. Like, I've been in the world of entrepreneurship and, they're always talking about unlimited and infinite and growth and stuff. And I was fully bought in and that's true too. But like, this is grounding and real. And I mean, so many times I would be like, cause you'd be like, well, if you break that down into like hourly rate, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That's not fun.
Don't ruin the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. But it kept making me, or the times when, a lot of grounding, I guess, would be a principle. Like, you grounded, like, I mean, when you were like polite about being like, well, yeah, these videos are good. I mean, I'm glad people are paying for them, but like, they're not good, and it was true. It's like, yeah, I'm not a professional video editor. Or, the thing you said of like, well, the reason that your clients aren't keeping you around longer than 3 months is because they're trying to get an ROI and you haven't given that. Like, it was hard to hear, but it was right. And you just painted like the lines that are real, that then I would have to go back every week and just kind of like think through them and be like, yeah, that's true though. Like, clients do want to make money. I mean, business is about making money, and like there are only 40 hours in a week, and you can't push yourself more than that or you'll get burnt out, which is a real thing. It's not just an emotional thing. Like,
Yeah.
so a lot of grounding and a lot of limits really, but those limits guided me. That was the calibration process, I think. But yeah, so that was something that I really needed in my life, and it's helping me with like understanding my finances and what I want to do next for the next, chapter of my life with my relationship and where yeah.
And I can definitely like, I'm glad you pushed through it. I think that it is hyper valuable to see things as they are, even when it's not comfortable. But it's, as the coach, sometimes it feels a little risky because I don't want to burst someone's bubble to the extent that they like give up. And I at least noticed for myself, like probably in the time that you and I have been working together, in fact, I noticed that I have this tendency that when I am so new to something that I haven't had a chance to like fail at it yet, I think it's going to be easy. And I get excited based on the expectation that it'll be easy. And then when somebody like paints the reality for me, I feel so deflated. And I'm like, oh, so this is just another thing and it's always hard. Everything is always hard. Why can't just one thing be easy? um, so yeah, I think this is interesting to think about. Like there is so much value to somebody saying, hey, this is how it is. Like I think it was in one of Alex Hormozy's books, maybe the Offers one. He was talking about how like, if you're not, you listen to his stuff, so maybe you can repair the quote, but it was something like, if you're not getting referrals or something, like he had some stat. He's like, if you're not blank, you just need to be better. And he was talking about like how most business owners like just aren't very good. And I've been thinking about that and seeing, it's like, it's kind of true. Like by simply just, if you're wondering why your clients aren't coming back, assuming that your business model is not flawed, like sometimes you do a one-off project and you totally sort people out so they have no reason to come back. But if you do a recurring service and they don't come back, probably you just need to do better job or provide a better ROI. And sometimes it sucks to get a coach to say that, but I just want to applaud you for not giving up and sticking with these things, because I feel like I deflated you at least 10 times, maybe more. Like I feel like I deflated you like every other week on average. So go you. What do you think the other bits of like synchronicity along the way have been that stick out to you looking back? Like those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, if XYZ thing had never happened, my life would have gone this course and now it went this one.
I mean, the biggest one was you wanting to do this series with me. I mean, that was wild. I could not, like I told you, when I first joined the community, I just wanted to hide. I just wanted to like read. I wanted to go watch the archive. I wanted to just learn the terms, see what people were chatting about, and maybe connect with a couple people in a DM or something. That's it. I just wanted to learn. And you were like, hey, you, jump on this personal call. And I was like, It's like being called to the front of the class,
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh, maybe we could do this one-on-one thing. And I was like, what's happening? That felt like the universe was like shining divine light upon me. Just like, and I was like, call my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, this like really successful freelancer guy, the coach that runs the whole business, is like gonna coach me. And he's calling the series 6 months to 6 figures. I was like, that gave me so much hope because I trusted you, because you know what you're doing. And I mean, this is your job. You help people do this. And I was like, just telling my girlfriend, like, the series is called 6 months to 6 figures. That's how confident he is. And it helped me so much. It helped me stick with it. It helped me just trust that if I did stick with it, and sometimes that's all I had, because the real results I was getting in, what I was doing were pretty discouraging.
Yeah, for sure.
But I still trusted you. And it was like, you could hold that place for me. And I don't know. I mean, just literally calling this series that changed my thinking too. Cause I went from like, I'm going to make a couple extra $1,000 a month to it suddenly became my duty to like fulfill on that promise. And so many times I doubted it, but you created, like, in the words of the law of attraction, like, you put that out into the universe. You said, Doesn't matter where you're coming from. Doesn't matter that you don't know all these terms and skills and you don't have a network and you don't have a whatever, blah, blah, blah. The thing that we're going towards, our North Star is six figures in 6 months. And I just can't believe that it actually happened. It's wild to me. This like makes me want to be a believer in the law of attraction again.
Yeah. And I definitely along the way, I had my own doubts about if I should have called it that, not because I didn't think it was possible, but because I didn't want you to have so much outcome. Like because you've said you felt like a failure many times along the way. And I think the fact that you had this expectation placed on you that, oh, I need to get to 6 figures in 6 months, otherwise Zach's gonna be mad at me and feel like it was a waste of time. Like, I do think that was a bad thing. So I don't know if it was a good, I like the clickbait of 6 months to 6 figures, because I do believe it's possible. Like, that's why I called it that. I feel like if anyone shows up consistently every week, they can see huge transformation after 6 months. And the thing that's been nuts for me is seeing you and Maya have both exploded in your growth since doing this. And the reason I wanted to do this series is to show, frankly, I wanted to show prospective members, but the real thing I want to show is people who are community members who just don't fucking come. That if you just come every week, you can have great results. So that's why, I don't know if you saw, I made a really strong 6-month guarantee for the community. It was inspired by these. So what I have now is I'm like, if you join the community and you come, I feel like it was you have to come to at least 3 live sessions a month, 2 of which have to be office hours. And if in 6 months you don't feel like you've gotten the transformation you wanted, you get all your fucking money back. And that was inspired by this. I've been trying to roll what we're doing here into the community, because the thing that we have here that the community doesn't have is we set a meeting on the calendar. If you don't come to one of these, I'm gonna be like, Brad, where the hell were you? You said it's on my calendar. Whereas in a community with a group coaching, it feels easier to slip through the cracks and hide. So I've been trying to that whole book a meeting from a meeting thing. I've been trying, whenever someone comes to an office hours, to get them to book their next office hours while they're live. But yeah, I think that's the thing that I feel like is the cool takeaway is if you're listening to this and you're thinking you're going to join the community, if you do, commit to yourself that you will fucking come. Because that, I think, more than anything, is what has allowed Brad to see such great results, is that he just keeps showing up. He doesn't believe in himself, but it doesn't stop him. And this year has been really hard for me. This has been the hardest year of my life since I was uber broke. Stepping up to do all this stuff in DIY, it's been really, really hard. And being able to believe in Brad when he hasn't believed in himself, it's nice to be able to give that, because when you're, yeah, sorry, dude, but I'll tear up too, because when you're in that situation, that's kind of what you need to keep going, is you just need someone to say, you got this. And I haven't had that as much this year, and it's been hard. So I'm glad I was able to give that to you. So this has been a long ass intro for people on the first episode. I don't want you to feel like I'm just pushing the community. Strategically, it is why the series exists, but I don't want you to join if you're not going to enjoy it. So I think this is a good synchronicity point. But besides the obvious one, I feel like you gave me a softball to promote the community by saying oh, joining. And I'm sure that was a pivotal moment. But can you think of any synchronicity ones along the way? I'm thinking that client job who you couldn't get an ROI for, and you had to we had to talk really critically about how can you accelerate wins in your service. That to me seems like one of those synchronicity ones. What sticks out? Joining the fucking WordPress developers community, that's a huge one. Because that's what led to this, right?
Yeah. Well, what really comes to mind is that one meeting we had where you were like, wait a second, you just got this client on Upwork doing affiliate manager. And it was literally as we were leaving, it was a thought that didn't make it into the full show, but just at the end you were like, wait, hold on, just 1 second though. Before you go with the whole thing that we just designed for this week, the homework, would you consider taking on clients as an affiliate manager? And I was just like, what? No, this is just an extra thing that that I just accidentally got while I was building this short form content YouTube agency thing. And I remember just thinking about it all week and just wrestling with it. Wait, affiliate stuff, that's something I want to do for myself, but I haven't done it in years, and da da da. And then by the time we got around to the next call, and another thing that tipped it was a guy that was my first Trojan horse client, just a friend that I met. I reconnected with and made an offer to through Twitter because of our talks. Like that was synchronous. And he was like, yeah, man, you should, like you can become an affiliate manager. Then you can like refer people to affiliate platforms and make commission and you can help them. I was like, okay, cool. And then I came back to you and I was like, yes, I think I would be open to it. And then we started working on that. And that's when the growth got insane. Like that's when things really sped up because it was such a good fit for me. And that was like very synchronous. Then I joined the affiliate manager group. And then the things that you had set out in the beginning that I'd been struggling and I just ignored, I just like, I don't know. I don't have a niche. I don't have an offer. I don't have a way to make quick wins for clients. Like I don't have these, but they were there. Like, again, like one of the law of attraction ladies says a rocket of desire, which kind of sounds weird, but launching a rocket of desire, like you set out that, okay, well, eventually at some point you need to find an offer. And at some point you need to find your niche. And at some point you need to figure out how to get quick wins. But I was always struggling. I was frustrated because I was like, yeah, but I can't,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this one thing clicked, this affiliate manager thing. And for me, it was like, oh, I have an offer. I have experience. I have connections. I have a personal brand built around this. And then I went to the WordPress group, which I've been a member of that group for years, but it's never been useful to me. And I never felt like the offers that I had were strong enough to offer like legit business professionals. Like it wasn't like I could never see a win. Like I always had that in my back pocket. I was like, yeah, I'm in that group. It's a professional, networking group for WordPress people, but I don't really have something that I can offer them. And then as soon as I had the affiliate manager thing, I was like, wait a second, this company, that's interesting. And I dropped one little comment in there and I closed Slack and ran away and didn't check them for a week. I mean, you get to watch all this in the series.
Yeah.
I was so burnt out and stressed and low self-esteem and all that stuff that Zach was like, okay, you have to check these messages. Like, please check these messages.
Yeah.
And that the only message I checked, there's still 3 messages sitting. I'm sorry, Zach. There's still 3 messages that are unread in that Slack. But the one that I checked because it came through onto my phone and I actually had to read it as a notification was the CEO of the company that I just accepted a job at. So like, talk about synchronicity. I mean, that is just some wild stuff.
Yeah. And it's so silly looking back. Like it's one of those hindsight is 2020 ones, but it's like hindsight is super fucking obvious. Like when you look back, it's like, why didn't you just do this from the start? Because like I remember our first session or one of them, I was like, hey, okay, so you've got this. So for those of you who are watching this as the first one, like Brad had a background where he like makes videos on YouTube about affiliate stuff. And I feel like our very first thing, I was like, okay, Brad, is there any way we can leverage this like affiliate audience for what you're trying to do? And he's like, no, it's a whole new thing. And that's like a nice teaching moment that I want to like highlight and underline. We talk a lot in DYF about your unfair advantages. And in my mind, your fastest route to success is always by like compounding something you've done in the past, like building on something you've already done, even if right now it feels like it sucks and you hate it and you don't want to do it and you're done with that thing. Like Brad and I both have ADHD. I don't know if it's an ADHD thing. Certainly it's a snack thing where I just want to burn something down and do something new. And I think it is an ADHD thing because ADHDers, novelty equals good. Everything else equals boring. So for me, like I want to close a chapter of my life and totally move on. But the thing is, it's very inefficient. And usually, in my experience, if you're trying to escape from something into this new thing, probably whatever deficiencies in your old thing were causing the problems that caused you to not like it, you'll need to solve in order for the new thing to work out. And if only you had solved those things in the old thing, you would have liked the old thing. And I've had this experience myself, like in July of this year, because as a freelancer, I would in the past always like coasted on word of mouth referrals, like so many of us. But to support the DYF community, I need to level up my lead gen game as a freelancer. So I've been basically going through the blueprint myself for like Zach, the freelancer guy. And it was really, really, really scary and really, really, really hard. But now I'm like starting to get a little bit of momentum after 5 months, July to November, I don't know, 5-ish months or whatever, of just grueling challenge. But now that this is going, it's actually kind of fun. My freelance business now is kind of fun. All these skills that I've learned about like delegation and stuff, they're making me enjoy it so much more. And it's like, I spent years trying to escape from my freelance business because I didn't enjoy it and I didn't find the work interesting. So I was like, well, I can't do this business anymore. I need to start a SaaS business. So I spent 4 years trying to start SaaS companies when if only I had learned how to be a fucking marketer and marketed my freelance business and productized, I would have enjoyed that same business. And now all the way to here, I'm in DYF, a product-based business. But in order to make DYF what I need to make it, I have to learn the skills with this freelance business in order to even do this one. And so I did them. And I'm like, oh, this was nice. I should have just done this. I mean, I'm happy to be here at DYF, but like I could have just done this. That's what I could say. And I would have enjoyed it. So so on that, like by you leaning into that unfair advantage, this existing audience, these connections, this experience versus starting totally over, that was the thing that changed it. And I had the same, like alongside you, I've been playing with this short form content agency. So like, I'll give my story. This is gonna be the longest episode ever, but like my whole background is like, I've done websites for like a lot of course creators over the years. And I've worked with some like celebrity course creators like Entrepreneur on Fire and Amy Porterfield as Zach the Freelancer. And when I started this whole agency from scratch series, that thing that I was doing to follow the blueprint, my main thing is I wanted to limit my unfair DYF advantages because like you, the listener, you wouldn't have that, right? If I just had Brennan give me an intro to somebody, that wouldn't be fair. If I said, hey, I run DYF, so can you hire me to be a freelancer? Like that wouldn't be fair. But everything else, like as Zach the Freelancer, like the fact that I've worked with Fire and Amy Porterfield, like every freelancer will have their different unfair advantages. And of course, being able to name drop Amy Porterfield, that is a big one. But I've also been doing this for like 13 years. But in any case, when I first started this, I like made it way too complicated for myself. And I started doing short form videos and content creation. But I don't have any experience with that. So when I make short form videos for somebody, I can't say, hey, this will get you more email subscribers or revenue or followers. Cause like, I'm not a social media person. You'll learn over the course of this year is when Brad and I talk about social media, he's like, hey, Zach, here's this super basic piece of information about Twitter. I don't know if you know this. And I didn't. And when I made this shift into, instead of trying to make everything so dang hard for myself, why don't I just lean a little bit more into the thing that I've been doing for ages? Stuff just started to click. And that's what Brad has seen. That's what I've seen. So that's kind of the thing I want you to think about, dear listener, is like, if you see yourself wanting to escape from a crappy situation, is there a way that in your path forward, you can kind of alchemize the good parts of your past situation? Like lean into the stuff you're hyper experienced at, be very laser target about like, what is it that you don't like? Because I find most freelancers who don't enjoy their life at work, it's not that they don't like it as a whole. Like I would label it, I was like, I'm bored with freelancing. No, you're not. You're bored owning a job where you're just like working for a couple clients and not feeling challenged. But if I were building a productized business and selling products and selling courses and selling done with you services and selling done for you services, and I'm delegating everything and it's all SOPified and I'm building an actual business where I'm running ads and I'm paying the team to do stuff and I can just build the machine, that's really fun. And that is still a type of freelancing business. The thing that's boring is just doing the same shit I've been doing for 5 years. Boring. So even though I would say I'm bored with freelancing, it's actually that I'm bored with the very specific business model I chose. And that if we zoom in on the things and take a red pen and say, what do I need to grow into to get the business of my dreams? And how can I leverage what I've already done? You might find something interesting. So that might be cool for you to think about. So on this whole note, Brad, one thing that I think is really interesting. So we got the unfair advantages taken like check. Something I want to mention that came to my mind when you were talking as well is the idea of like knowledge and experience as the compounding asset. So both of us feel like at least for me, when I look back on the time I was trying to do short form video, it felt like a waste of time. Like I think I told you I had a period where I was like mourning that. Like when I decided I wanted to pivot, I was like, God, I wasted 3 months. Now I wanted to have a sexy hook for agency from scratch where I'd be like, ooh, I'm so fucking good because I'm partner DUF. I went and did this. I made it work in like 2 months. If you buy this course, you'll get to do it in 2 months too. And now I don't get to do that because it didn't take 2 months. And it's a waste because I did this stupid thing. But what's cool is a lot of the things I'm doing now, both in DYF, for clients at Conversion Wizard, on my other podcast, all these things, I'm benefiting from all the skills and SOPs and stuff that I created for the short form video thing. And that's what's really cool is like any skill you build as a technical skill as a freelancer or a business skill to try to do something in the wrong way, you get all that experience and it helps you now in the future. And that's exactly what Brad's talking about. Like the stuff from the beginning that he didn't like feel like it was working, it's helping him later. What examples of that come to mind for you, Brad? Like the compounding knowledge asset, where it like felt like a waste of time, but you're like, oh my gosh, actually, glad I did that.
Oh, yeah. Just, I mean, the lead gen stuff that we talked about, and then I studied on my own. It was very synchronous, fortuitous that Alex Hormozi rose to stardom at that time, and like he came out with his leads book. I was obsessed with it. And, you know, a lot of those things I tried, I was like, dang, they failed because I never got a client from cold outreach on Instagram. But, you know, through trying all those things, I got a good feel for how networking works online. Like, that's transformative. That's a skill that I'm bringing to my existing job. Like, I'm like, oh, I know how to connect with all these people. I know what the flow is. And now I have, you know, I had a really strong offer as an affiliate manager freelancer, but now I have like a mega strong offer because I'm representing an amazing company that has a great reputation. Like now if I slide in people's DMs, they're going to talk, you know, I won't even have to sell anything at all. And so now I'm like, what is the potential on this? Like that was a skill that I'd never wanted to build. It sounded terrible, but I had to. And so I did. And sure, I got one very significant win out of it, maybe a couple, I would say. I got the Trojan horse client, but I saw how it worked. I was like, yeah, okay, I get this. I can extrapolate this to a bigger scale, you know. And again, there was something else missing, which was I didn't know what to offer people, but like all the other machinery was built. And that was a big deal. Like that's a skill set that I've been avoiding. There's a lot of stuff I've just been avoiding because I didn't want to. It's probably the same with you too. Like,
yeah. And that's yeah, that's something I want to add here as well. Like something that I think is the most powerful impact of cold outreach and is also instantaneous is that now you know that you can do it. And I like Alex Hormozi said this one thing once where he's like, it took you 25 years to send your first cold outreach and it'll take you an hour to send your second. And like when I sent my first cold outreach, just have someone on my podcast, like my going through the blueprint, doing the quote Trojan horse podcast, although by the time you're listening to this, hopefully I'll have renamed it because I hate that label. Love you, Brennan, but hate the label. I had my hand shaking. Like my hand was literally shaking over the mouse to hit send. And I had the most accountability, which is like, all right, well, dude, Zach, you want to launch the blueprint, you can't not do this. Either you like leave DYF or you do this. So I guess I'll do it. And I was so scared, but like now I've done it. And now I know that I can do it. And it doesn't mean I enjoy it. And it also means I'm really happy to find someone else I can pay to do it. So I don't have to, but like I now can do it. And I think this ripples out in so many ways because like the more you do hard things, the more you do things that feel hard, the more it makes things that previously felt like medium difficulty feel easy now. The more hard stuff you do, like the more you essentially expand your comfort zone. It's always painful and hard to expand your comfort zone, but once it's expanded, now like expanding it over here on this left side has expanded this whole like sphere. And so all these little blips that were kind of at the edge on the right side are actually now suddenly inside your comfort zone. And so IMO, doing cold outreach, like sending 100 cold outreach or 20 cold outreach, or frankly, even like 1 to 5. Like I feel like 1 is too few because if you do 1, you never come back. I don't think the habit sticks. But if you send a cold outreach message at least once a week for 4 weeks, I feel like that's enough to like get your brain into this new paradigm where like you've unlocked so many things. Because like if you can send a cold outreach to a stranger, you can send a warm outreach to a client. You can like do other sorts of outreachy marketing stuff. So yeah, I feel like even though you never got a client from it, I think that there's so many opportunities that you did get that you wouldn't have gotten if you hadn't done that. That's what I'll say on that.
Definitely.
I feel like I'm selling the value of cold outreach. Seems pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it
Put
was a
like that.
huge skill that, I mean, we kind of explored it together. Like, you got to see, you know, see it in action at my level, which was like just reaching for something, like it wasn't
Mhm.
like, okay, well, contact your last 12 clients and see, it's just like, I don't know. I'm just reaching out to random people. And, um, I, yeah, that was a huge one. And, I was going to say another thing that like I changed my relationship with, and I will forever, I think, accept this, like, and this will sound like a softball pitch for the community, but it's
I
also
didn't
just
tell him to say this. Whatever he's about
you
to say,
didn't,
I did not tell him.
yeah,
I promise.
but it's paid groups and accountability. Like, I hate the word accountability. I hate it. It makes me cringe. Like, I hate the thought of somebody like holding me accountable. That's like the
Yeah.
worst thing to me. But sometimes this call was like the only thing tethering me to that commitment. And especially that you took time to reaffirm that you weren't going to leave. And so I had to keep coming, even when, like you said earlier, you talked about it a lot, but like paid groups and accountability, however you take that, like if you don't like the word, like I don't, just it's just a structure. It's just a tether. It's a loose commitment, like it's just a commitment. Like, I could have walked away and you would have been like, oh, I guess that Brad guy left. Like, that's weird. Bummer. And whatever. You could have been like, hey, this isn't working out. I would be like, turns out it wasn't 6 months to 6 figures. It would have been fine. Life would have been fine. But it meant something to me and it meant something to you. So I was willing to just hang out and stay. And that's the thing, like early on, I got really emotional because I realized that in this stage of my life, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm actually going to do it. And I knew that you were going to challenge me in a lot of ways. And you were going to, encourage me to grow in ways that were uncomfortable. And I was scared. I was like, I know he's going to, and I know I'm going to have to do it because I committed to it. And that's so transformative. And that was what helped me really solidify the offer as an affiliate manager, because I joined another paid group and got a little bit of like group coaching, I guess, from the other affiliate managers that were there. It's just so transformative. Now I'm like, that's the fast path. Like, to anything, like just paid group, accountability, and you will actually do it. It's like, you've spent 10 years trying to, it's kind of like the Alex Hormozy thing. Like, it took you 10 years to like think about doing it. But now that I've done it once, I'm like, I'm all in. I'm getting paid groups, paid coaching, accountability for whatever thing I actually want to do.
Yeah, I think like it's something about like it's like public intentionality almost. Because I've experienced the same thing. Like, I had a really great win by hiring somebody on what was the website? The one where you pay people by the minute for coaching. Clarity.fm. That's where I got one of my early pro bono clients from. Like, I just went on there. I just paid him to get his take on my service offering. Turned out to be a pro bono client. He came on my products. He had me on his podcast. So I'll probably get some leads for my service from that. It's like a budding friendship. And a lot of people going through the blueprint, they always ask like the biggest objection and what I'm trying to conquer with this next live cohort is I don't want to be a fucking podcaster. Like, that's the biggest objection. And people want to hide. They want to be a faceless. They're like, well, can I just send an email with the survey questions? And it's like, I feel like what you're saying here, that I'm thinking it's like, you get so much out of just being a live person saying you do this thing, like you're working on this thing, like not giving yourself the out. Something I want to like zoom in on that I think is a really great strength that you just skimmed over, but I think it's a huge thing, especially given the ADHD, is like, you said that that you're at the stage of your life where if you say you'll do something, you'll do it. I think that is a superpower. I have lived, I don't think I'm good at this. I'm better. And I wouldn't say I'm at the stage of my life where I will, but I say I want to be. And I try to live in accordance with that. I remember when I first read the 4 agreements, one of the 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. And I was like, oh shit, I am not impeccable with my word. And I'm trying to get better. And I think I'm getting there. There have been some things I've done these past few days where it's like someone came on my podcast now to like share my SOPs and stuff with them. I do this thing, like my girlfriend and I refer to it as like offering to let someone borrow my Kindle. I like the brownie points for saying, hey, Brad, do you want to borrow my Kindle? But then it's nighttime and I'll read my Kindle, and I gave it to Brad. And now I told Brad I'd let him borrow my Kindle, but I actually don't want to give Brad my Kindle. And so I'm trying to get better at like, okay, well, if then maybe just don't tell Brad he can borrow your fucking Kindle. And if you do say it, then you give him your Kindle. And I'm trying to get better at that. And I am getting better at that. But it's no easy feat. And so I just want to say the fact that you can even do that is so cool. What did you do to get to that point? Because with ADHD, that can't have been like, surely you weren't always this way. How'd you get here?
A lot of pain and a lot of removal. It's removing things. I think especially with ADHD, it's just, no, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. Like when I realized I couldn't both focus on freelancing and focus on my YouTube channel, that was hard. But I was like, well, I have this thing with Zach and it's very fortuitous and I'm lucky. Like I got this disproportionate like stroke of luck. So I kind of have to just I have to say no to most of that other stuff. And I tried to do both for a while and I was like, it's exhausting. So I had to just kind of say no to most of it and then no to more of it and then no to more. And now it's the same thing. It's like, I have to say no to certain things so that I can accept a job.
Right.
But so like getting rid of a lot of stuff, like I would agree. It's just like, you know, I don't like lending out my stuff. So I'm just not going to lend out my stuff, you know?
Do you have people pleaser background or no? Because maybe that's where mine comes from. Okay. So how did you do it then? Because that's the thing is like, for me, I'm trying to, and this is a freelancing podcast. This is more of like a life coaching question, I guess. But like, for me, I'm trying to create an interruption. Because if I'm like, oh, I can tell this person wants to borrow my Kindle, so I should just give it to him. I'm trying to create an interrupt where I say, well, wait, do I actually want to give this person my Kindle? But creating that is like hard. And so if you do come also from people pleasing background, like what I'm getting from what you're saying is like, you've accepted that you cannot have everything. It's like one of my clients, her tagline is, you can afford anything, but you can't afford everything. But like, how did you actually operationalize this? Do you have any wisdom for us?
I think it's like, I think of it like efficiency. I was just reading this book from a affiliate manager guy, and he was like, values are the most efficient way of making a decision. Because once you've firmly established a value, then anything else that isn't that value just goes away. It has to. And I feel like I've gone through that iteration like many times in the last 6 months of like, I really want to quit this freelancing stuff. This sucks. I'm not good at it. I'm failing in public, you know, like. And so some of my values are that I want to be a person of integrity now. Like I want to be impeccable with my word. And I told you I would stick with it. And so that's the only correct answer. Like the only correct answer is full alignment with that value. And I'm saying it like I mean, this is new stuff to me. You know, I'm almost getting close to 40 here. And I realize like, oh no, I actually do want to be impeccable with my word. I really do want to establish values that so you can think of values as like this, like, you know, fluffy thing, or you can think of it as a ruthlessly effective decision-making thing that saves you time, saves you energy, saves you down risk. It's risk mitigation, you know, like if you don't open up that loop to somebody borrowing your Kindle, you just don't even have to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
interesting. So to dig us out of this little life coaching tangent before we make this like a 7-hour intro, something that I wanted to ask you, put you on the spot. Like you mentioned all the value you've gotten out of this accountability and stuff. Something I find a little bit challenging as like the business owner. I recently experimented with raising the community price to $200 a month. I told you, like I did that launch and like fucking no one bought. So I think that the sweet spot for the community membership price is probably the $50 to $100 range, maybe $150. But the challenge is like, if I wanted, what I would love is the same experience you've had. I want every community member to have it. But I simply cannot afford to charge, apparently $100 is what it's valued at, $100 a month for essentially like 4 hours of my time. Like that, no way would I do that. I would not do that for a freelance client. I'm supposed to make more here than freelancing, if anything. So why would I do that for like what comes out to $25 an hour? So what I wonder is like, does anything come to mind for a way that I could provide this same level of accountability that you've had here to people in the community? Like, does anything stick out with you? Like how we could create this at scale, or any advice you have if someone's thinking of joining for how they can get the experience that you got here without the fact that obviously the parameters are different because they don't get a spot on my calendar. Like, is it that I hire someone whose whole job is to like nag people who haven't come? The other side of that, like Jay Klaus was talking about how sometimes people legit join communities not wanting to come live. Like they want to be the lurker and that's where they get value. And if you try to force them into your live participation box, like maybe that's a disservice to them. So that's where my wariness would come. But like, what do you think? Like, do you have any ideas?
I think there's a limitation of trying to build everything inside of the platform Circle. Like I love Circle. I think it's beautifully designed, but trying to force all of that into Circle, I feel like, so if you were to uncouple the accountability from Circle, I think you could be more effective. Like if people were open to it, if you could text them once a week and just say, hey, this is Zach, just want to check in with you. Obviously only certain people are going to be open to it, but like, you know, I have like a student that I just said, hey, you can email me once a week and like, just know that another human is looking. Like I might not have time to reply. And I'm not saying you need to do this because that could open up a huge thing, but like, just open up the channels, but make it more accessible to each person's preferences. Because, and I don't think that means you have to add some huge overhead thing. It's just, I feel like you guys try to build everything inside a Circle. That works really well for you, but it doesn't. I don't think it works well for most people. Like a friend of mine, I mean, he was struggling. Like he could not find anything. I had to make like Loom videos showing him like where everything was. And so accountability, I think it has to be something that like, you know, gets them where they're spending their time. Like,
yeah,
you know, if it's a text, it's like, and it doesn't have, you know, you don't have to ask anything. Just like, hey, it's Zach. Just wanted to know like thumbs up or thumbs down for this week.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. And I think you do that, but it's in Circle, which
it's a different context. Yeah.
They have to go in first.
Yeah. In terms of synchronicity, like my coach, like I was like, yo, can I pay you? He's a past client of mine and we're kind of friends. And he like didn't let me pay him. So I've been looking for ways to do stuff for free. I recently built out like an SMS follow-up campaign for him for free for his students in his course. So now I have the skill. I can do it here. Alrighty. So at this point, I think a good way to wrap this, if you're on the first episode, it feels like this has been long. I don't know. Yeah, we're at like an hour. So probably what we do, if you're here on the first episode, I will maybe release both this and his first coaching session. Like I'll just plop them all out at the same day, but it feels like it'll be a long episode of Sol One. So I'm not sure what I'll do yet. Either you can listen to that in the next episode, or you can listen to it after this if I decide it is not too long. So Brad, as the segue into both your first episode and the final retrospective, depending on which end of the timeline someone's hearing this at, let's just talk about like, if you were to give me a 2-ish minute summary of like your pathway from where we started to here with like notable, like, I want to hear where you started. I want to hear what you tried to do first, what the challenges were, what the wins were, what the roller coaster looked like, how you got to where you ended up. Like just to give a taster for the people who are on the first episode and like kind of a recap of how far we've come for the people on the last one. 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. So I came in, I've got 15 years of experience in marketing, but I never wanted to be a freelancer because I didn't want to have clients. So I've done a lot of like side hustles, little businesses. I was an employee for a year, 10 years ago. But I decided because of the values that I decided for the next couple of years of my life, I want to do things that I can be proud of. And the only product that so far that I had been proud to sell was myself. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a freelancer. It's the best way to make money with my skills. but I have no idea what I'm doing with freelancing. I don't know how to get clients. I remember I was so frustrated. I kept saying the thing like, how the hell do you get clients? How the hell do you get leads? They keep saying like, oh yeah, I got these leads and you just got to go get leads. How the hell do you get a lead? I said that repeated millions of times in my head. And that was the first question I wanted to answer. How the hell do you get leads? And then I started learning about inbound and outbound and outreach and all this stuff. And one of the interesting timeline moments was when you told me that I thought you were going to tell me to get off of Upwork because everybody in the community, hates Upwork. And that's the only place I had gotten clients. But instead you said, I think you should get as many clients on Upwork as you can. That was weird and interesting and counterintuitive. And that taught me a lot of stuff, and it got me my first kind of breakthrough client, and it helped me just focus on not having to do as much lead gen, just fulfilling. That was cool. I learned time management using Toggle and just doing audits of my time, tracking everything. That was really hard and really revealing. I remember telling you on a call, it was like, whoa, I just spent like an hour and a half doing nothing, That was a huge thing. Continually trying to think like, how can I shape this offer? What do I offer? Who do I offer it to? How do I reach them? These are the questions that were always plaguing me. And one by one, they started to get into place. And so I was working on Upwork.
Doing what at first?
Oh yeah, that's great to talk about. I first came in saying, I don't know, I'll do SEO. SEO is super competitive. I was getting no traction, but one person hired me to do YouTube SEO. So then I was like, well, I have a YouTube channel. So I worked for them. And then somebody else hired me to do YouTube SEO. And then he was like, can you edit too? And I was like, nope. But then he was like, well, could you just try? And I was like, I guess. So I was like, the only way I'm going to do editing is if I can use Descript, which lets you edit by, it doesn't matter. So I said, okay, I'll edit some stuff for you. And that turned into me learning all about Descript. And he was like, this is amazing. This is great. Could you edit, more podcasts and stuff? So I kind of started learning editing. And then I came to my other client that had hired me for YouTube and said, oh, I guess I can do editing now. And so then we created videos. So yeah, I went through that whole thing, and then it was, I wasn't getting enough clients, so I expanded my reach. And
didn't you have some you did some strategy that rhymed with like oom and womb or something like that?
Yeah, Loom and Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was really effective on Upwork. Is like everybody else is sending text replies or proposals, and I would send a text proposal that my friend had kind of helped me craft, and it would have a link to a Loom at the top. So I would make a Loom proactively. I would put so much effort up front into getting their attention. Like, please just look at my proposal. And so I would use a Loom video, and then the only call to action on that was, let's hop on a Zoom call. It wasn't read over my profile, all that stuff. It was just like, hey, I'm looking at your website. I see this thing and that thing. I think you could do this, that, and blah, blah, blah. Let's jump on a call. And yeah, I made hundreds and hundreds of Looms in the last 6 months. I mean, that was a whole new skill set.
And I seem to remember, yeah, you ended up finding out your metrics for that. And that was a really big, for me as the coach, trying to get you to be intentional about CAC and stuff, that was a big, or customer acquisition cost. That was a big milestone, just getting you to do that. So maybe speak about that a little bit.
That was huge. That was really uncomfortable for me too. Is just bringing it back to the numbers. But that's business. And so, yeah, I built this little spreadsheet where I was tracking how many Looms did I remember feeling so frustrated by that, Zach. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Nobody's looking. But then it was actually, I sent 30 and I got 3 clients. So, and you were like, yeah, that seems about right. Those are the numbers that everybody does. And I was like, whoa. So then Alex Sermozy was like, well, if I can do 30 and get 3, what if I did 90?
Exactly.
I would get 6. And
that's the superpower.
Yeah. And then I started doing a lot of Looms and the numbers just held steady. And so then I was like, wait a second, I could do it. Then it's infinite. It's like, could do as much of this as I can. But then I started hitting the limitations of work. Like, wait a second, now you got 3 clients. That's a lot of juggling. You know, now it's starting to, the limit isn't how many people can you outreach to, it's how much work can you do in a week. And then, so then we started working on that. Like, how are you prioritizing this, and who's paying you the most, and how do you triage your priorities? And
as I recall, like a big milestone there was like what I see all the time with freelancers is once you hit that point, most freelancers stop prospecting. And then they run out of the work that they're doing, then they run out of leads, and then they get their leads, and it's this roller coaster. And I think that was a milestone that I remember just trying to push you, like, keep prospecting a little bit. It's funny, it's fun doing this because like I'm visualizing a time I'm like, gosh, all these milestones, we're only at like a third or a quarter of the series now. So let's keep it going. So you got your metrics, your baseline metrics for the Loom and Zoom. I seem to remember that the next milestone then, like, we had our convo about the affiliate thing, but like you kind of stopped the Loom and Zoom a bit, but then there was some gap. I can't remember what happened after the Loom and Zoom and metric gathering. What was the next little part of your path? I think that might have been the affiliate stuff. I think that might have been the switch.
I think
when
that
you started doing affiliate management.
Okay, so we had a talk, and based on the info that I gave you, you said, and we were always trying to work toward having a really honed in offer. That was always something that you were trying to encourage. Like, let's dial in this offer. And so I was like, okay, I guess my dialed in offer is YouTube SEO on Upwork. And the problem is, as later I was doing a lot of proactive searches. There aren't that many searches for that per day. So like, there was only maybe like, let's say three new ones per day, sometimes 0, right? So the offer was honed in, but there just wasn't that much flow of traffic. So then I expanded my potential offerings and included other skills that I had just to get new clients. And one of them was affiliate marketer. Then I landed my first whale client, like somebody who actually had money, who didn't blink at the cost of my hourly rate and just wanted to get a result. And that was a really cool milestone for me. Like, cool. Wow, this feels great. He's not stressing out about the money. Everybody else was like, how much is that going to cost? He wasn't like, he's just like, okay, well, let's just get started. And he hired me like immediately,
And had you joined the affiliate manager community prior to that one starting, or after it started?
After.
Okay.
At the time I took that client, I did not think I was going to do affiliate managing. This was just, I'm building this agency. Like, I watched all these videos about short form content agencies. Like I was learning about cold outreach at scale. I was learning about like Instantly, and I was like, this is infinite. I'm going to build a productized service and sell it if I get 3 or 4 clients a month, like That's the path I was going down. And then this side thing happened. I was like, well, this will just be a job that pays me while I build my agency. And then that led me to, that was the conversation where you said, well, would you just do this for more clients? And then it was like, and then I was talking to another friend of mine, marketer friend, and he was like, oh, I know this guy who runs, he has a course and runs a community of people who just are affiliate managers. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And then I started orbiting around him, decided to buy the course. And then it was like, this is an exact blueprint of like how to do this job for clients. And that's like not in the purview of the DYF community, because you're teaching the skill sets of freelancing. But there's another thing,
like the business side. This was tactical.
Yeah.
And as I recall, it's quite illuminating, because it made you realize that there were some expectations you set naively that were not quite right, and like some aspects of your process that were different than like the quote norm. And so having that coach like specialized in the delivery, since it wasn't something you've done professionally before, was really helpful there too. And I know you were struggling back then with like, you weren't capping out your hours for that client. That was when we were talking about ROI. So I guess the next milestone, you were leveling up your skills in that community, and you were trying to do the stuff you were learning there with that client, but he wasn't keen on some of it or something like that, right? Is that the next kind of phase here?
Yeah. it was cool because this course gave me realistic expectations, but when I reported those to the client, he was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound that exciting to wait 12 to 14 months to get a 20%." I think, actually, he never said that, so I don't know. But the general vibe I was getting was this is going to take longer. I don't really feel like investing in this right now. But you've done great, you were great or whatever. But that's when I hit burnout because I had stopped prospecting because I wanted to focus on this guy. And I thought, if I can impress this client, like, this would be amazing. He has a huge reputation and stuff. And so I stopped prospecting and I tried to focus, but I was also this is when I hit burnout phase, which I was trying the whole time, this whole process, I was trying to work like 2 jobs at once. For a while, it was, I'm trying to do Upwork and I'm also trying to learn freelancing and I'm also trying to put out YouTube videos that I ultimately would rather do. And then you were often being like, why did you make these YouTube videos that aren't serving your freelancing? So I was always trying to work like 2 or 3 jobs at once. And at this point, it all hit me. And I was just like, I went into a 2-week just deep depression.
The long dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Deep depression, burnout.
I was very depressed.
I was right there with
barely
you.
left.
I was depressed and burnout at the same time.
Yeah, I know. There's one call in our series where we're both pretty burnt out and we're kind of like,
yeah, just like fucking don't want to be.
Yeah.
Just play video games. We played video games.
Yeah.
That was what we did. We both went and played some video games.
Yeah. We hit burnout at the same time, but that was the worst burnout I think I've ever had. And I was like, I couldn't do anything. I wasn't even like a functional human. Like I didn't leave my bed. I just played video games, watched TV. I couldn't even think about business. I was like, I don't know. And I started driving Uber. I was like, I think I'm going to have to give up on freelancing and just do Uber for a while.
But you did the thing. There was the thing where it was like the universe test. Kim Swagemacher's talked about those. And like the universe test here was like, you needed to answer your fucking Twitter message. And I told you about FocusMate, and you set one and you put it off and you cleaned your whole house and you did all the things. But you did it. You did it. And like younger Zach, I think I shared it with you then, like younger Zach had one of those universe tests and he did not step up. And like, I regret it still. And you did. That was Milestone. And I feel like we're getting pretty recent now. This was only like a month or 2 ago. So from there, you kind of pulled yourself out gradually. I think you were in the deep of it for like a week or 2. And then the surrounding was probably 2 weeks, so about a month of a kind of rougher period. And then that's like during that time you were doing the Ubering, what were you doing like even for work during that time? Because that was after you ended up losing that big affiliate manager project. What were you doing freelancer wise? Can't remember.
Nothing. There was like a kind of an overlap where like I worked a bunch of hours one week. I was working on weekends and stuff for him. And then, so I had like banked a bunch of hours. That was another challenge I had this whole time, was like cash flow was like really rough. Just, so it's like I worked a bunch of hours. So I was like going to get paid, 2 weeks from then or whatever. And during that time I was burned out and depressed. And then I started doing Uber and I wasn't doing anything. But I guess in this one moment, I had the gumption to put out this message on this professional networking group. But yeah, I wasn't doing anything. I was just letting it all crash, I guess. I just was like, I don't know.
But you didn't burn everything down. There were a couple times where I was like, dude, you need to just do this thing.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you committed to being a professional person needs to do this thing, and you did those things.
Yeah.
You didn't respond to all the messages in the community, but the main thing was like, I didn't want you to ghost your client, because that was the biggest thing. I was like, generally I like to try to invite Brad to do things. I know better than to tell Brad what to do. But this one, I am telling Brad what to do. Brad has to do this thing. And you did. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
So what was the emergence from that phase? Like, that's what I feel like I don't quite remember, is what brought you from that period where you were at the bottom, you started to do the message and you responded to messages. Like what's the gap between then and now? Like what bridges you between the two?
Well, I guess it was, I had in that time prepared, I had found my offer. Like I found my niche, I found my offer. My niche was SaaS, SaaS business owners, I guess, like, so, you know, and my offer was
Oh yeah,
affiliate.
on the WordPress niche, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was originally going to start cold outreaching people on Product Hunt, actually. That was going to be my broad target. But then I remembered something you told me from the very beginning was like your unfair advantages. And like, well, I have this WordPress connection. And so, but it really was just all these other things that were question marks in the beginning were filled in now. Like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an affiliate manager. There's a million different ways I can do it. And obviously I wish it was happening now. I wish I wouldn't have gotten let go by that client, but like, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do from now on. So yeah. So then I thought, now that I have my offer and I want to work for a while, I thought I was going to be a video editor for course creators, which seemed like a good fit with things I'm interested in. But when I switched to affiliate manager, it was like, it changed the target of who I wanted to work for. Because course creators may or may not have affiliate programs, whatever. But a lot of SaaS companies have affiliate programs. And they and this fit like all the boxes that we had talked about the whole time. It's like easy, quick win. It's easy ROI because if they, you know, they can just let you do your thing. And if you want to, you could even be paid on commission. Like if you bring in new affiliates who get paid. So it's an easy yes. It's a very niche thing. Like there aren't that many humans on the planet that want to be an affiliate manager. And I did. And then I just lined it up with the right pool of people. This, you know, something that I didn't have was a pool. I guess I did. See, that reminds me of the acres of diamonds thing. Like I was in that group this whole time. I had deep connections in the WordPress world this whole time, but the other things were missing. Like I did not want to bring a shitty offer to those people. I did not want to ask them to like do me a favor and let me do something for them until I was confident in it. When we clicked into the affiliate manager, I was confident. I was like, yeah, of course I can do this. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. It feels like a lucky break, and it was, or it's early days, so it seems like it. You're going to run into challenges. But the thing I think is really important for us all to remember is like, if this lucky break hadn't come along, and this is something when you lost the whale client that I was trying to remind you of, or like when you were looking, it was when you thought you might lose the whale client. It was that reframe that it's like, yes, this client was a lucky break. Yes, this was a big opportunity and it would suck to lose it, but it won't be your last one. And in this case, like if Brad hadn't signed for this job, he would not be feeling so great right now. He would be still stressed and stuff, but he'd still be trying. And I have no doubt that things would have inevitably worked out just as well or better than they did here. And I think that's the really important thing is that there's this book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect, where he talks about how like most overnight successes happen after years and years and years of like hard, consistent work. And then you shoot upwards. I had a guest on my other podcast, Brian McAnulty from Heights Platform. He was saying he ran his podcast for an entire year, same with his blog, and his traffic was just flat for a year. And then it shot straight up. And that's kind of how these things go. So I don't want the listener to write this off as like, okay, well, Brad was struggling and then he got a lucky break and now he just got lucky. Like, yes, Brad did get lucky. Yes, this job solved all of Brad's most urgent, pressing, stressful problems. But if it hadn't come along, it's not like he would have just been fucked forever. He would have kept trying and eventually something would work. And that's like, I think that's the biggest takeaway is that there were so many times where Brad could have given up and where, frankly, others in the community have. Like, I've seen people give up, and it's my mom. I told you about it before. My mom, when I was a kid, she had this picture in the basement where some miner walking away sad with his head in his hands because he didn't find any fucking diamonds and shit. And then just beyond, it was a cross section, just beyond where he gave up, there were diamonds. And I've seen this a couple times in the community where I see people so close, so close. And then they stop because they didn't get the results yet. And it's like, I think that's the hardest thing about any kind of new endeavor, especially business ones, but probably anything, is that you have to be willing to endure just failure forever until you don't have it anymore. Like that's like, I feel like the most important business skill. I used to think it was tactics and strategies, and I'm learning it's just that you have to be willing to tolerate failing until you don't. And that sometimes you get lucky and it takes 6 months, and sometimes it takes you 10 years. But the people who end up living epic lives, it's the only reason they got there is because they kept failing until they didn't. And everyone thinks that they got lucky and it was an overnight success. And oh my God, it couldn't happen for me because look how lucky they got. They had this connection. They had this connection. They had all these things working for them, all these unfair advantages. But like oftentimes those unfair advantages were gained on the back of like so much sweat and pain along the way. And when they first gained those air quotes unfair advantages, they had no idea. They didn't get the opportunity from them. Just like Brad with this group that ended up giving this really great lead. Like it wasn't an unfair advantage at first until it was. At first, it was just another thing you happen to be doing where it's like, well, that doesn't count. Why would that count? This is just a thing, you know? But then we can look at in hindsight, be like, oh, well, Brad, you know, he knows this person was in this group. I don't have that, so it couldn't work. Like we all have these things. And sometimes they don't actually become unfair advantages until we like become the right type of person to actually take advantage of them. So I think it's been a really interesting reflection. It's been long. I know it's Friday night, so this is date night right now. So I know it's a good time to wrap, but I guess let's transition this. And what I'll say is, if you're here on the first episode, we'll now flow from here into Brad's very first session with me. And if you're on the last episode, I'm going to ask Brad a couple of like, what's next for you questions, and then we'll wrap this up and probably have Brad come back for some like, what's the word where you come back for something? Encore episodes sometimes. So like Brad and I are just never going to chat again. Okay. So at this point, it's getting late. You've been really generous. I know you got to start your day and stuff. So I just want to tie this up. But what I do really want to cover before you leave is like, you talked about thinking too small in the pre-interview. I think that would be really nice to get some more thoughts on. And I would also like to hear about like what's next for you, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. Like you had to make some big compromises, it sounds like, for this job. And it does sound like the job was the right fit for your goals. But I want to find out what are your goals? You said you were thinking too small. So like, what are you working towards? What's your big business vision, and how does this job play into it? And what was the way you were thinking too small before?
Well, I was thinking too small in that I was looking for like, how to make a few extra dollars here, or how to make, just a little bit more money. And even my whole freelancer thing, it was supposed to just be like a little side gig to buy me some time so I could make YouTube videos and whatever. And when I came into like the job offer, that was kind of my mentality. It's like, well, that's definitely what I want to do. And by the way, this job was first the best client that I've gotten so far. Like they hired me as a consultant. And I just had to think through really hard. I had to talk to all, like, I called up my counsel, like the closest people to me. And I talked it over with you and stuff. Like, I really had to think through this, and everybody was like, well, Brad, this seems like a really, really good job. And they were trying to be nice to me because I was like, yeah, but I don't have a job. Like, that's not me, like,
but freedom.
Yeah, exactly. I had this.
I'm so free right now as a freelancer.
Yeah. I had this identity around not having a job, and it was really hard to say goodbye to that. But I started thinking, and the thing that got me was, is this a way for you to get more of what you really want? I want peace. I want stability right now. I'm tired right now of scrambling, but ultimately I want to do things that I'm proud of, and I want to learn business. I just want to like be really good at business. And that's true. That's not something I'm saying. I really do want to learn I want to be really good at business. I want to be really good at, I really wanted to understand the affiliate channel in business. I wanted to understand, I want to be able to do SEO and PPC at a high level. And so I get all of that from this job. Like I want to, so it's like I make one, I make some concessions that are like identity level things that I've been building, but I get all this other awesome stuff that are higher goals that I wanted. So I was thinking small in trying to think of a way to kind of escape something. I was running away from something. And now I feel like, wait, this is amazing. I get to learn. Like my number one value is freedom. My number two value is learning. I love learning, and I'm about to learn more than I think I've ever learned in my life. Like I'm stepping into a world that is so fruitful for learning and growing. And then I'm going to get to do it safely and securely, which is something I've never had. And it's really good for what I want to do with my life. Like, looking towards like the family stage of life and settling down and all that stuff. I can still travel, which is important to me. Like it just, and even like the industry that it's in is something that I've had a really side obsession with my whole life, but I was like, well, once I get successful at business, then I'll explore those interests. But now I can do them both at the same time. And I just think I'm going to go so much farther and faster as a part of an organization. And I don't have to, I don't know. I guess I discovered this year that one of the fastest ways for me to grow is to align with what I really believe in. That sounds really airy-fairy, but it's real. Like if you believe in something.
And also to surround yourself with people who are further along the path.
Yeah.
Like there was a dude, Jordan, who was on my other podcast, who he's a big advocate for like, find someone who you want to mentor you and work for them for free so that you could just be around their brain. And that's like, you're getting that from this opportunity.
Yeah. So what I really want is kind of vague. What I'm going to do is just commit myself to this opportunity for a while, at least, and just be open and see what the future holds. But it's checking a lot of boxes where I get to learn every day about things that I care about, and I get to be proud of what I'm doing. And it's going to open a lot of doors for me. And I've just, those are the ways that I was thinking smaller. And now I think like I told you, I'm in a new paradigm. Like every move I make at this level is going to have a lot of impact. And I like that. I've never really, aimed for that. But now that I'm here, I'm like, that's actually really cool. Like,
yeah, it's cool getting to test stuff on like a business with volume.
Yeah.
Versus just a couple of people. But you said there was something that like almost cost you the opportunity when I was asking about like, what's your business vision? Are you going to still like be a content creator? Like, what was that thing?
Well, when the offer was made, I just spent a lot of time sort of defending, like, what do they call it? Like arguing for your limitations or something like that. I've heard before. Like I was like arguing for my small vision almost at the cost of the bigger vision. Like the owner was trying to invite me into this bigger vision and like, man, you want to learn about business? Like come work with us, make a lot of money, like do good stuff, like, work hard, like create amazing things, and then see where you're at in a while, And I was like, yeah, but does that mean I won't be able to create YouTube videos? And like, I guess I shouldn't diminish that. That's what I was building up to. I wanted to do that in the next couple of years. And I didn't see this coming, but I kind of argued against it, and it was like, oh, okay, well, I think it was a little ingracious or whatever. It was, but I thought about it a lot, and I was like, that's kind of stupid. Like, it's so limited to think that by joining an amazing company with a lot of resources, I won't get better at the things that I like on a higher level. I'll get better at content creation. I'll get better at marketing. I'll get better at networking. I'll get better at business. It was that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe then the thing that I'll leave you with because this is something like, as somebody who's worked it as a job, doing my side hustles and all the stuff I was saying last time we met, maybe what I'll leave you with, and a nice like bow to tie on the series, is that I think that the trick for satisfaction with jobs or freelancing or business or life in general is contextualizing the role of this thing into the grand vision of your life, knowing that the grand vision of your life changes. The grand vision of life for like your next 5 years that you have right now is not going to be the same in 5 years. In 5 years, you're going to be like, why did I ever think I wanted to do blank in 5 years? And that jobs are not inherently good or bad. Jobs are not inherently like limiting and sucky and holding you back. Jobs are not inherently preventing you from growing your own business. But jobs are naturally predisposed to make it really easy to accidentally spend several years not moving yourself towards your vision. I think that's the thing with jobs. Like you have to be extra intentional because you are surrounded with a culture of people who aren't. You're surrounded with a culture of fellow employees, obviously, because you're at a job. Employees work at jobs. So I think that's probably going to be the big thing for you moving forward. Like I do agree with you. What you decided, like doing what this dude invited you to do, making that trade-off. I respect that it was difficult. I would have struggled too. And maybe I would have cost myself the opportunity by dying on the hill of this thing. But I think it was the right call. I do. But I do also think that unless your role at the company changes in the future, which of course, if you do a great job, it will. And I mean, if you do a bad job, it will too, because you won't be there anymore. Regardless of what happens, like as long as you're not mediocre, which you are not the type of person who is mediocre, you give it your all and you want to grow. So of course your role will change. I would say that just like, that's probably the thing I would leave you with and end the series on is like, this opportunity will be challenging and exciting, guaranteed for like 6 months, like no doubt. And you're going to be making more money than you have in a while. And that's going to be really nice. But after a year, it might, depending on how the road goes, it might start to feel like you're like hitching your cart to somebody else's horse that is taking you, like you're driving their horse that carries some gold into their kingdom or something. Like that's the classic thing. We feel pent up at jobs because it's like we are building somebody else's business asset. But what people disregard is what you're speaking to here, which is that, sure, your efforts make this person money. That's the fucking goal. Same deal if you're a freelancer. But you're also building these skills and gaining this knowledge. But once that point stops, once the point stops where it's like, okay, now I'm literally just the horse driver. Like I already learned how to ride the horse. I learned how to put the gold in the cart. Like all of those knowledge assets, they've been built. And now I am simply executing on this in exchange for a paycheck. Whether you're doing that at a job or you're doing that as a freelancer or whatever, once you hit that point of like plateau stagnation where suddenly this thing isn't actually moving you towards your goals, you're simply treading water, maybe that's when you start to think about what the next steps are. Maybe that's when you start to say, okay, what am I working towards? What's the business vision? How does this slot into it? Does it continue to slot into it? Is it time to talk with my boss and say, like, we need to try to morph this into something? Because all employers that are as successful as this dude, all of them know that there are like two types of employees who work for you. There are the people who they just want the paycheck and the security, and they are reliable, and they're easy to please because they just want the paycheck and security, and like the position inherently gives them that. But then there are the people who are more like you, where like you are hungry and you like want to grow. And they're really nice employees to have because they like bring really good shit to your organization. But they also require more work because you have to make sure to continue to challenge them. Otherwise they will leave. And it's like it's a classic bad employer mistake to butt heads with those people and let them leave. And from what I've heard, this isn't something I run into a lot, but I do believe it. That the true thing is that like you need to keep these people challenged and keep them like growing and find ways to keep them pleased, but also keep benefiting the company and morph the thing. So I bet that's going to be the future step. And then you'll hit that and you'll say, okay, do I want to be investing into my content creation authority building, which I think probably from knowing you, building your own asset long-term is what you're going to want to do? Or do I want to alchemize my role in the company? Because at the end of the day, if you had equity in the company and you were like the chief marketing officer and you really loved the thing, like, who cares? Maybe not you, and maybe you. I don't know. So, yeah, what questions or thoughts, like as you're about to go on this new chapter of your life, and we're not going to be connecting as frequently, is there anything you want to get my take on, talk about, anything before we go?
I think that was really beautifully said about the grand vision of your life. That's exactly what I would like to express. And I think you did it really well. Like, just don't get stuck on the thing, like freelance, not freelance, whatever. You're going to be doing something 40 hours a week. But the grand vision of your life
Never
is
exonerated.
really important.
Yeah.
And as long as you align with the grand vision of your life, then whatever. Like, be a business owner, be an Uber driver, whatever. Like, be an artist. As long as it aligns with the grand vision of your life, and accept that your grand vision does change. That's beautifully said. And I think that's, anybody watching this series will see me go through a lot of iterations of that. And I think that's a good place to end.
And so I turn you away. You say goodbye forever. Never talk to Zach again. You feel like you have everything you need. All the Zach gems you could ever want. You have them. Nothing you want to ask me before we go.
I've been stockpiling gems this whole time, man. I've got a crate of gems
to munch on. Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'll do my typical outro. It feels weird. Should we do an air hug?
Yeah.
Here's the air hug. We'll meet up in person for a real hug.
I was going to say, it feels
for now,
weird. You've been such a big part of my life the last 6 months, and we've never actually met. I mean,
yeah, it is weird.
So we'll definitely have to meet at some point. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I'll make a DYF event one day, or if like we're in the US at the same time or something. I'm sure we'll meet up. So yeah, I guess just the regular outro. So hey, listener, if you enjoyed this, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave good reviews. And if you enjoyed this and you want to join the DYF accelerator, I'm going to stop because that's fatiguing. Yeah. So, if you're listening to this, you want to get some coaching, join the accelerator, dyf.link/DYFA. If you want to learn more about Brad's business, you fucking can't because he's not doing it. So just, that's all right. CTA complete. All right. Well, Brad, I guess I'll hit stop. And thanks for being here on this journey, dear listener. If you listen to all of Brad's episodes to get here, that's awesome. I'm sure he would too. We would love to hear from you of like what you resonated with the most. You can still find Brad on the internet at the Nomad Brad. So like you go hit him up there. If you hit me up at the hello@wfreelancing.com, I'll like forward it to him. I would really love to hear like where you resonated with, like where Brad gave you courage, because I think there are a lot of parts in Brad's journey where people maybe were feeling those big challenges and they push forward. So I've been very inspired by working with you, Brad, and I bet the listener has been too. So thank you, Brad. Thank you, listener. I'll hit stop and see ya.
Thank you, Zach.